You are listening to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast, a show by personal trainers for personal trainers. It's time to become a better trainer, get more clients, and change more lives. And now, here's your host, the head coach and founder of Fitness Mentors, Eddie Lester.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Certified Personal Trainer Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Lester, and I am blessed to be with Alex Cartmill today. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks, Eddie. Super happy to be here, man.
Awesome. So Alex is a new part of the team. Him and I have known each other for a little over maybe 3 years or so. I have a huge respect for Alex and what he's done in this industry, and really happy to welcome him to the team and to the podcast.
Super appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's I'd almost forgotten about our relationship way back in the day, but yeah, we go way back, and the feelings are certainly mutual. I've always had a respect for what you do and the energy that you put out into the world and how you run the company. So to be a part of the team, it's just an honor.
Awesome. So I wanted to bring you on to the podcast because you and I have a very similar experience kind of getting our start in the fitness industry as personal trainers, studying for our exam all the way through our pathway into the education side of things. And kind of just wanted to get a little bit of background so that our listeners can get to know you a little better. And then really talk about kind of, where we see this industry needs the most help and what that kind of looks like for, the future for people out there. So let's definitely start by just getting to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah, man. So I'm in Portland, Oregon right now, which is where I'm born and raised. Awesome. I went to Oregon State University. I started at University of Oregon for any Ducks Beaver kind of rivalries out there. That is a sin back in Oregon. So that was a tough transition. But I started my kind of career as a journalism major. I started writing for some sports publications and have always just loved writing. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I got a little bit more insight into the journalism career path and thought, maybe this isn't what I want to do. This is a long road to the top. And while I was writing, I always found myself writing about fitness and health and mindset and routines and discipline and all of this stuff that really revolved around the fitness industry and personal training. But at that time, which really wasn't that long ago, it's probably nearing 10 years though at this point, the fitness industry path wasn't nearly as evolved as it is now. And in my head, thinking of a more kind of traditional approach, like, okay, I like being healthy, but I can't really translate that into a career. So what else could I possibly do? Mm-hmm. And my first semester in college, I had a relative who was in the fitness space who basically just said, hey, I heard you're into fitness. Just FYI, you can do this as a real career. And I said, oh, really? Well, let's do that then. That sounds way more appealing to me. So I changed my major there, and the rest is kind of history. So I started training at Oregon State University. I'm NASM certified. I kind of relatively fast went up the ranks of the trainers there. I had a full roster relatively quickly.
Was this while you were going to school too?
While I was going to school.
Awesome.
Yep. While I was going to school. So I was working with mainly staff at the university and students, but mostly staff. And I really fell in love maybe a year in with helping other people fill their own client roster. And I'm a human behavior nerd. I'm a psychology nerd. I very much geek out around those things. And a lot of the education at that time for me was like, you have to build relationships with these people in order to keep them around, and you have to understand what they really want. And I fell in love with that line of thinking and helping other coaches get more clients. And I almost felt like, because a part of the reason I love fitness so much is hearing somebody tell you that you changed their life from a health perspective is just, nothing's better than that. Yeah. It just feels so good. And then I almost think, man, maybe they won't be telling that to me directly, but if I can coach the coach, I think we can change more lives in that path. And I loved it. So I'm like, I wonder if there's some room for me here. At the same time, I was just in the industry. I was a fan of a lot of blogs. And one, the Personal Trainer Development Center, the PTDC, I was a big fan of. And I'm like, okay, I really want to work for these people because I feel like they know what they're doing. I'm a fan of them. And so I kind of I hate to say weasel my way in. Everyone's like, no, you did it. But I really just bugged the founder, John Goodman, for a couple years and stayed persistent and eventually got an internship there, which led to a lot of things. So we built the Online Trainer Academy there, which is basically just a business development course for trainers. And this is in 2016. And so, I don't want to say we're the first just because there's so much out there, but I feel like we led a lot of the conversation around, hey, working with your clients online is a viable path. Let's remove the stigma around it. You can still provide an excellent service. And we feel this is where fitness is moving towards, especially in the future. And then, of course, COVID hit and we were like, now everyone has to work online. So anyway, I ran that course for many years till 2020. So for 4 years. And I also oversaw the development of that. So that just turned out to be a beast. Managed teams there, ran the research and development there, ran the operations. So that was a whole project. And then this last year, my main focus was really in new innovation and new product research and development. And how can we solve problems for people in a product that we don't have or a problem that we're not solving already? And so that's about my background.
I love it. And yeah, and just to kind of pull on something that you mentioned earlier, the transition from helping people achieve a fitness goal or get healthy and that reward that we get as personal trainers, that was something that really struck a chord with me. And for me, similar to you, my path was around trying to make that sort of occurrence exponentially happen more through influencing trainers. I chose the education path and actually was working as a college professor and program director for a fitness program here in Southern California. And kind of from a teacher's perspective and influencing as many people as possible in person. And that was something that my kind of background took, or that direction is the way that it took me. Sure. And then that obviously led to the creation of Fitness Mentors, because I could help 30 trainers at a time in person as a college professor, which exponentially increased my impact and influence on people's health. Significantly more than just me one-on-one with someone else. But then what I realized is that online, I was able to do that even more. And now we've helped literally hundreds of thousands of trainers kind of build their career paths through Fitness Mentors, and that's something that like you mentioned, that sort of reward that we get for helping the world become a healthier place and getting that sort of feedback around helping trainers be able to help so many more people and teaching them to now go online, in which that exponential factor just keeps going up and up and up. And that's something that kind of has always been one of my main goals with Fitness Mentors, is to help as many trainers as possible, because that truly creates a healthier world. And that health then leads to happier people, and happier people can do what they love to do best. And that sort of big picture is always where I draw a lot of my motivations from, for sure.
Totally, so, man. And I could not agree more. And also, I mean, I started to find a passion of, let's try to improve the industry a little bit as well. I mean, just the natural kind of, I don't know. I just know when I got certified through NASM and I was like, great, I passed the test. I had my first client in front of me. I was reading their intake form and she was literally sitting right in front of me. And in my head, I'm thinking, what the hell do I do right now? I have no clue what to, like, I'm certified. I have my thing, but I don't feel any more prepared to do this. And of course, I think that comes with the territory to some degree. You have to be under the bar. I guess that's a good analogy for this. But it also opened my eyes to, and then of course, working in the fitness education space for the last 6-7 years. It's not it's not a super desirable, I think, industry once you kind of really get in the trenches. I almost equate it to my journalism approach where I'm like, oh, this is what it's like. This is what it takes. Oh, I have to work at a gym and work at 4 a.m. and 9 p.m. and 6 days a week. And I only make $51K a year. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something that, you know, when you and I first started to talk, it's like, you know, but our sort of passion for this exponential impact of truly helping people become healthier is kind of bogged down by the fact that the personal training sort of career path and industry does have this sort of you know, side effect of difficulty and struggle and is not, like you said, that desirable once you're really in the trenches. And,
yeah, and the turnover is so high. And I mean, I think of it like teachers too. We need a really great teachers. I think we should be incentivizing people to want to be teachers. And I think the same thing about the health and fitness industry. I think the more advocates and the more, because we know this, I mean, the long-term coaches in the industry are, there's so many amazing people in here. I mean, just amazing minds. They're so helpful. They're empathetic. They really do change lives. But I think in order to get to that point, you have to push through too much gunk.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Too many challenges. Because I mean, you probably know this better than me, but I think the average lifespan of a trainer maybe is what, a few years? Like, is that kind of the average time in the industry?
I think the number of people that recertify their CPT certification after working in the industry is very low. I mean, the percentage is maybe only, you know, 20%, 30% continue and recertify their certification after 2 years. So the attrition rate is high, and that actually kind of bums me out, because when I think about the exponential impact of we're giving people you know, education, and then they're going out and finding it difficult to succeed, that decreases our ability to continuously impact the health of the nation, of the world. So that's something that we've really taken upon ourselves to look to change, because it doesn't have to be hard, but the way that the industry is set up right now makes it kind of, you know, here's your certificate, good luck, go work at a gym, and hopefully the gym will kind of show you what to do, and you can be successful. And it just doesn't make any sense relating to, and the industry has been this way for 30 years, 40 years. I mean, luckily we now have other opportunities that are emerging, which we're going to get into, but that you and I both started in that exact same way, in which, you know, I literally read the NASM book on vacation, and then went and took a test, and I was certified. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like now what?
Right.
And I remember training my family and friends just for the first few months to try to gain some confidence, and really just not having much of a clue on how I was just so passionate about it. I didn't stop. that was what prevented me from stopping, because I loved it. But you know, then my first gym job came around, and I'm just sitting there, and I always tell this story, but I went from charging like $20 an hour to now they're expecting me to charge $85 an hour.
Right.
And I was just like, I have no clue. Right. I have no way am I worth this much? And no way.
I'm no better than I was a week ago.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So just kind of pulling upon that's something, you know, that we're so passionate about showing trainers here at Fitness Mentors is it doesn't have to be that way anymore.
Yeah.
And kind of
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, redefining what this industry is a massive undertaking and a massive challenge, but no one's doing it. And that's kind of, it has bugged me and our team for so long that it's like, okay, it's like, this has to be the priority. And it's going to be a long, grueling, you know, PR campaign to change the way that this sort of industry is viewed, but it needs to be done. And I think we do that through each individual trainer, just providing, you know, that sort of support that we didn't have.
Sure. And I mean, it absolutely starts with one trainer at a time. And that is, I mean, there is And you're 100% right. There isn't anyone doing it, especially at the front line of things. You know, there's a PTDC who's the post cert, but the people who even got to us, they were long-term people in the industry. And so we only got that small percentage of people who are like, I made it past my initial 1 year. Thankfully, luckily, you know, I hated it, but I was so passionate, or whatever it may be. But there is totally an inherent flaw with the current path, because the end goal of ACE or NASM or whatever it may be is you get certified by these people because it's what's recognized at gyms, and like that's the path you take.
That's the path.
And that's the path. And it's like, I think it's a flaw because, one, I mean, I think working at a gym as the ultimate end goal certainly could be for some people, and I think it does have a lot of benefits. There's pros and cons, but it shouldn't be, to your point, you got experience when you started working with people. And so I don't think the certification to the gym and then let me get experience to start working with people, and then let me hope that I work so hard and well at the gym that maybe I make 6 figures one day because I'm a master trainer at 24 and I've been there for 9 years. But it's such the minority. And so I think, and to your point, very challenging to unwind a lot of new trainers' thoughts, especially around, okay, so I have to choose between ACE and NASM and this because this is what people are telling me to do. But this is what people are telling you to do because they don't know any different either.
Exactly. No, there's this massive stigma, kind of predisposition that is all. Even some of the most experienced trainers, actually, to kind of talk about your point. I did have a friend choose ACE and go to 24, and within 2 years he was a top trainer at 24. Making just at 6 figures, but he was grinding so hard, it was out of control. He was doing the 5 to 9, then the 11 to 2, and then the 4 to 9. But he did that for 6 years at that level, and was just making 6 figures. And then the moment COVID hit, he got fired in a heartbeat. But what happened is, all of a sudden it opened his mind up to, wait, I could do this privately. And he built a garage gym, and that year made, almost, 35, 40, in the middle of almost 170K.
Right.
Doing the exact same thing with the exact same drive on his own.
Totally.
And it was, he just didn't know that after 2 years, when he had that great following, he was a master trainer at 24, barely making, that amount of money, and wasting literally all his time 6 days a week, like you mentioned. For 6 years he did that. But then had he known at 2 years that was a pathway, and he could have easily done that and not been fearful that 24 is gonna go after him and like sue him for taking clients and all this crazy stuff that they tell you. He would have have so much more personal freedom, would have been making more money, could make his own schedule, feel, that's just one example that kind of sprung up when you talked about that, is people just don't know. And he was an industry veteran by the time that he actually chose to go with that more entrepreneurial route. And the only reason he did it was because of COVID. And then all of a sudden, and then he had a kid, and with a kid, that lifestyle as a personal trainer that he was living was absolutely not possible. 100%. And so he would have either had to take a massive pay cut for having a child, which just in my opinion is absolutely crazy. Or he would have had to go private because he had a child. So he's a perfect example of what you were talking about. Absolutely.
Totally. And so many things pop up. He would take a pay cut for having a child because he only gets paid when he is working. and there's totally a stigma that I think is changing, especially due to COVID, because people didn't have a freaking choice. But there is a stigma around, oh, you work with clients online, or, oh, you're an independent trainer, or, oh, you don't work at like a big name company, then you're not legitimate. That's insane to me. I understand it. But that absolutely has to change. Because, man, even living my life, I don't have a kid, I have a dog, but I don't like to be jam-packed busy every day. That's just not, I'm a low stress guy. I'm very much how can I work that's going to be the most kind of value from my effort. And I couldn't sustain that dude's schedule for a few years. Just, I would go insane. And I mean, think about too, how much work he put into the gym that he could be putting into his own route.
And his brand and
his
products and his social media and like, because
it's not easy.
His following even.
I mean, that's still a difficult path. It's just choose your battle.
Well, my biggest thing was he literally was fired and left with nothing at the end of it.
Yeah.
And because he built absolutely nothing outside of that gym.
Right.
And that's the vulnerability that I talk to trainers that have been doing it for 30 years. And they have this vulnerability that they don't have this large retirement from that the gym is helping them to create or major opportunities to retire and get paid or and all of a sudden this is why the industry has let so many people down and the true passionate people that have stuck with it are sometimes at the end of their careers. I know plenty that are literally like, I have to keep working at 65 years old as a personal trainer because there's no other opportunity for me there's no real opportunity for me to retire. If I don't work, I don't get paid and I don't have vacations. And so, I mean, we beat that to death as far as, kind of that experience. And you and I kind of recognized that early on and have made adjustments to grow ourselves outside of gyms for sure as fitness professionals.
Totally.
But I mean, talk to me about what does the next step look like for personal trainers now that we know that there's a problem, we know that this industry needs a change as far as the typical career path of trainers. Talk to me about where you think this next step is going to be.
So really, it's from my perspective, because I am not I think working at a gym has positives, but I think it comes down to awareness and self-awareness, but awareness of other possibilities out there. That is not the path. And so my biggest goal currently now is really educating on there's other viable paths that also have pros and cons that you have to be aware of, but that lead to a better destination, in my opinion. Working with clients remotely or running your own business has a much higher ceiling, in my opinion, than working at a gym. Now, will you get clients right away? Will you make 100K in 2 years? Probably not. I mean, there's other challenges into that path but you're going to have to put in a lot of effort either way. And so I really think the next step is, I mean, I've spent the last 6 years really teaching online training. And I'll be the first to tell you that the difference is if you're a really great coach in person, you can be a really great coach online as well. If you know yourself, as long as you don't need to be around people 24/7 and you hate, you can't be at a screen for more than 15 minutes. Like there's certain caveats where it's like, okay, maybe it's not ideal for you if you're this on one end of the spectrum. But a lot of the same principles apply. And I think a lot of people see it as like, this is a whole new beast. And I would have people who have been in the industry for 30 years saying like, I have zero clue what to do. And a lot of my response is you do the same thing that you do in person. You just have to understand now you're working in a new environment. So what has to change? But your expertise is the exact same. Your empathy and your communication and your understanding of the clientele is the exact same. You just have to understand that, okay, so you can't see them. So maybe you have to be a little bit more proactive in your communication. You have to get ahead of things a little bit more. It's tougher to react to things. Maybe you don't take certain clients online because they require, the hands-on approach, whatever it may be. But I think the next step is, and honestly, we're here, I think, especially because of COVID, not only working remotely and virtually, but being your own boss. I mean, and
Mhm.
there are so many different niches and paths that you can take. And there is the beautiful thing about the industry, which I know a lot of people see as ugly, but I see it as beautiful, is there is a lack of regulation. There isn't anyone telling you what to do.
Mhm.
And so for brand new trainers, a lot of my approach is understand what you're passionate about and what makes you different.
Mhm.
I know a question that I was asked very early on in my career that really stumped me, and I took years to think about it, was there's a trainer who's 15 years older and has 15 more years experience than you. Why would a client choose to work with you over that person? The new trainers, they have more understanding of anatomy. They are better programmers. They have been doing this for 15 years longer than you. You're just starting. Why would a client choose to work with you over this other random trainer who's better?
Mhm.
And I think it's a really helpful question to think about, because the modern trainer, the current trainer who's going to succeed in the field, they're going to have knowledge beyond fitness, beyond
Mhm.
programming. They're going to have to understand a little bit about human behavior and psychology. They're going to have to know how to communicate. They should know some money management skills.
Mhm.
And I think I hope, and this is why I'm so excited to be at Fitness Mentors, this is exactly what we're doing, that the education moving forward in the fitness industry is in those arenas, because I really do think to excel now in this space, unless you want to work at a gym and you're perfectly content with that path, then I have no issues with that. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
I certainly
What?
couldn't do it, and just,
Yeah. And that's kind of something that I almost exactly experienced. I was teaching. I helped NASM develop their 900-hour vocational school sort of program, and so much of it was science based around specifically, human sciences, kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, and for out of this 900-hour program, I realized I was providing uh, extra education that might not have been applicable to what we're talking about, in the sense of the next trainers that are going to be successful are not just going to need that sort of information. They're going to need so much more. And what I did after helping to build that curriculum was when I got to set and be like, oh, all right, I created Fitness Mentors. What do we feel that the necessary education is for truly helping trainers succeed long term, and
yeah,
then into this next phase or into the future of this industry? And so much of what I decided to include in our education was around the business side. The business side is almost the longest chapter in our textbook, as it relates to everything from the very first client and how to get that first client, all the way through the elements of the 100th client and business skills and practices, and so much around social media, client acquisition,
yeah,
on top of that, the behavioral side of business relating to your people,
mm-hmm.
and your clients, and what that actually translates to as it relates to your success. And that's something that I was like, the first book I ever wrote was about 100 pages around business and sales, the guide to success as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And that was something I was like, okay, so what did I think was missing from everything that I've created in the past? And it was this book that was still available on Amazon right now. But it was directly the missing component, I
Right.
thought, to succeeding as a private personal trainer, because
Right.
everything in those larger certifications still says, get the cert, go work at a gym, and they're going to teach you all the business stuff, and they're going to teach you their method for getting clients, and they're going to teach you that. When I was like, well, that is great for those gyms, but what about my own personal skills about how I'm going to be and sell and create and build?
Totally.
So when I thought of Fitness Mentors and what we're really looking to do is we want to change that sort of lack of information that's currently presented, and provide trainers the opportunity to truly invest their time and education into something that is actually going to have an impact on their long-term success and career.
Yeah. Because I mean, working at a 24 and getting taught their marketing strategies, that's a massive corporation. And maybe if you're a critical thinker and you can strip the principles out to your own, but it's not applicable. And it benefits the certs to say, here's the path, because that's why they're on top. That's why NASM like, go work at a gym. And that's why every gym will accept NASM, and they don't want things to change. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not one to talk bad about anyone, of course, but I don't know if those larger organizations who certify, if their top priority is our top priority. Yeah, I just don't know if that's the case.
We with my last podcast, or 2 podcasts ago, with Patrick, he has 30 years of experience in that industry, and he was just talking about the sales to the next $1 billion company that wanted to own a piece of the fitness industry. And exactly. and their whole priority was, how do we increase the bottom line to improve our holdings and our portfolio? And as a large $1 billion business, that makes a ton of sense.
Totally.
And for them, that's their goal. And do they have this need to shift the type of thinking that's going on in the industry? No, because as long as their bottom line is increasing, there's nothing that needs to change.
They have a need for quite the opposite of that.
Exactly. And to stay the same. And do they have ground floor experience as a personal trainer, and what's going to truly help them? It's like, I doubt that they might have had 600 personal trainers throughout their entire life, but no.
Right. And we've worked with, so the Online Trainer Academy, there was talks to acquire that from ACE and NASM and stuff like that. Cause from a business perspective, totally smart. They wanted an online business thing in their portfolio. They knew this is where the industry was moving. Makes sense. You can just tell when you're dealing with them, though. Yes, they're a fitness company, but they're a venture capital firm who is funding a fitness company. And it's obviously they have people in the fitness industry who work there, of course. But it's just not the same. And it's kind of the David and Goliath type thing. And but yeah, I mean, they and again, like I've pushed people away from the online route or running their own business. People who say, I can't deal with any stress. I'm happy making $50K a year and having my clients and having the stability, which, you can argue if it's even stable. And I think that's okay. I think it does start with self-awareness, but we know that I think just the vast majority of trainers would benefit from at least having visibility on, hey, if you have 2 clients on your own and you're not certified yet, like maybe getting certified isn't your top priority. Maybe it is. Like maybe you don't go work for a gym at that point. Maybe you continue and that's okay. That's the conversation that I've had so many times, is they're like, well, I have these clients right now, but I'm trying to figure out how to get to a gym. It's like, why? You get a lot more experience maybe at a gym. Yes, they feed you clients, but you give up a lot of your money, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I guess kind of wrapping things up, what is the number one tip that you might give a new trainer or someone that's interested in training? What tip might you give them as they kind of do their research and or get into the industry?
I would say be very self-aware about who you are, what kind of environments you thrive in, what you like, what you don't like. That's advice I give to everyone, but I think it's very applicable here. And then and I'll give a few because I think very high level, and then I'll also say some more actionable ones too. The second piece is one I mentioned earlier, is as you're thinking about fitness and what might I want to do, certainly think about your own passions, but think about too, that other question that I pose is, what makes you different than other people? Where does your value lie? Why would someone work with you over that 15-year trainer? The last piece of advice I would say is start working with people. You don't have to be certified to work with a family or friend. You can always do research on the fly. I'm not anti-certification. I think if you're going to be a professional trainer, you should get certified for sure, just because that is, we need some regulation. And I think there needs to be some distinction. And especially with a company like ours, the education is actually helpful. And it is helpful too in NASM. It's just much more focused on here's how you build programs. And so those would be my first few things. And then lastly, just like explore different paths and surround yourself with the right people. That's something that I did early on, semi-unknowingly. But really like be intentional about being a part of a community on social media. We have a Discord that's awesome. You know,
I was going to say, join our Discord. That's exactly what you're talking about, relating to surrounding yourself with people. Yeah,
because it's just so helpful, especially when you're new to. And this is why we include like the trainer spotlight in our newsletter, because it's like people don't know. There's so many things that you could do, and it's impossible to know them when you're just starting out, and it's impossible to know what should I do. And so I think a really key part of that is be around people who are also thinking the same thing, who have more experience than you, who have done it, but then root everything back to self-awareness. Don't feel like you have to go follow a path because you saw an Instagram person do that, or someone you look up to is like, this is what you have to do. Trust your own judgment over that, but surround yourself with the right people still.
I love that. Those are awesome tips. And self-awareness is something that's not taught a ton in any education relating to, what we have here at least in the US, and taking the time to look at yourself and really ask yourself those questions is so important, because that's really, you are in complete control of your life, and taking the time to focus on yourself really will help you in the future. And that's really, a second thing that we emphasize here at Fitness Mentors is, how are you going to create a life that makes you happy?
Yeah. And
for us, it's helping others with health and fitness, and knowing that exponential effect will take place and we'll say trickle into other people's lives. And
totally,
that's just something that we stand by so much here at Fitness Mentors, is that big picture. And that's awesome that you brought that up. So thank you.
And if you haven't done that work, you don't know what you're going to do to build a life that's going to make you happy. And I think that's where it gets dangerous is, man, we could have a whole freaking podcast.
That's our next talk. You and I, we're getting back on here in a few weeks and doing the self-awareness, because that's
oh my gosh, because it's just it's challenging to ignore all the noise that's pulling you out of self-awareness today, and so I think really grounding yourself back there, because there is no right, there's only right for each person. And I think trying to figure out what that is the first step.
Absolutely. Awesome, Alex. Well, hey, thanks so much for jumping on this podcast. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for checking out this edition of the Certified Personal Trainer podcast. We will see you next week. Have a good one.
As always, thanks for listening to the Certified Personal Trainer podcast. You can learn more about Fitness Mentors at fitnessmentors.com. Be sure to share this podcast on social media. And remember, we are here to help you succeed.